Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Just Bulldogs podcast. This episode starts off our position profile and projections for the 2025 season. First one up here, we will be going over the fullback position. Before we get into that, a lot of our positions this year are a bit more cemented than they were heading into 2024. Not as much competition, but we will still go over who I think will be starting in the positions. I've got the polls up on the Just Bulldogs Instagram and Twitter page, so you can jump on there so I can get the fan choice as well. And then I will go over some of the candidates, the starters and the backups for the position. So we should, by the time we get through these position profiles and projections, we should go over just about every player in the Bulldogs top 30 and potentially some of the young players that could make their way into the NRL side throughout the year. Getting into this fullback position, right now, there's not a lot of competition for the spot. Last year, Blake Taft started the year at fullback while Connor Tracy was recovering from injury. Connor Tracy did have to fight to get into the NRL squad, with Blake Taft starting the year in pretty good form. But once Connor Tracy got into the mix, he did hold down that spot for pretty well remainder of the year, outside of some injuries. Last year the contenders for the spot were Connor Tracy, Blake Taft, and was hoping to see a little bit of Joash Papali'i. That didn't end up happening, and Joash has since moved on to the Parramatta Eels. So this year, there's not a lot of competition with Connor Tracy and Blake Taft. The really only the two fullbacks in the top 30 fighting for that spot. There's a couple other guys that are in the mix for injury cover. But as I see it, Connor Tracy and Blake Taft, the only two fighting for the spot, and Connor Tracy, the very strong favourite to hold down that fullback position. He finished the year there very strong, in pretty good form. He's got a very particular role in the fullback spot. He's not the biggest ball player at the position, though he does have some pretty good skills and good hands. But he's an absolute meter eater. Brings the ball back well, starts off our sets in good position, and he runs the ball well when we do get into attacking areas as well. But when they do give him the opportunity, he's pretty good at ball playing. He's got a bit of a boot on him. He can kick the ball, not so much in the long range area, but close to the try line. If you need him to, he can kick. So a nice little string to his bow there. But a pretty good runner with the ball, and I do like his hands when given the opportunity. Blake Taft, the other player that would be fighting for that spot, sort of stuck between whether he's a fullback or a half. I think due to his size in the defensive line, sort of holds him out of the half contention. So I think he'll most likely be our New South Wales Cup fullback. And then if Connor Tracy's out for multiple weeks, they could bring Blake Taft into the NRL side. And then the other two that we have are potentially Blake Wilson. He hasn't played a lot of fullback at the Bulldogs, but he does have a past in lower grades as a fullback. So one that could potentially be in the mix if he's not in the first grade squad to start the season. We'll go over the wing position profile and projections in the next podcast. But for right now, if Blake Wilson isn't in the first grade side, it would be cool to see him in the fullback jersey at some point in New South Wales Cup, but his future would be in the wing, so I think that's where they'll most likely leave him. He did get a couple games there in New South Wales Cup last year, but not enough to really lock down that spot. And then he did play a lot of NRL on the wing as well, so didn't really get a chance to play too much fullback. And then the final one, Jacob Kiraz. We did get to see him at fullback for the Dogs when Connor Tracy was sent to the sin bin last year against the Newcastle Knights. He looked pretty good back there. He doesn't quite have the ball playing skills. He hasn't really been able to develop that part of his game as he's been a center winger for the majority of his career, especially in the top grade. But Kiraz very good under the high ball and incredible meter eater coming out of our own end. So I do like it for Jacob Kiraz to jump at the back in case of emergency, but right now Connor Tracy really locking down that fullback position um, for the foreseeable future. One worrying thing, more so in our top 30, there are some good players coming up through our younger grades, but in our top 30, there isn't really anyone pushing to really take that fullback spot. We do have Blake Taff, that is a solid backup, but yeah, no, not quite any young stars on the way up, with Joash Papali'i moving on to the Parramatta Eels. So definitely something to keep an eye out for in our younger grades. Some young fullbacks to see what they can do and what they can bring to the future of the club. But right now, Connor Tracy looking to lock down that fullback position, and definitely his spot to lose. But a very safe player, very good at the back. Um, uh, I Yeah, definitely very happy with the way that he finished off the end of last year, and think he'll start off this year strong, and enough depth around that we can cover him if anything happens, any injuries or suspensions. Enough quality at the club. So that'll just about do for our first position profile and projection. My choice and the fan choice locks in Connor Tracy at the back. So thanks everyone for listening. First position profile and projections in the books. Make sure to check out at Just Bulldogs on Instagram and on Twitter to have your votes on who you think should lock in each position. But that'll do for this one. I appreciate everyone for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.